Yeah. This introduction to On the Holy Spirit by Saint Basil poses a few issues, and we should address them briefly. First of all, it's his idea of theology as a hermeneutical tool. Theology, although cannot be reduced to a logomachia, fight for the words, or a vain dispute. Theology is a way of deciphering, let's say, theological messages, ecclesial messages, a way of interpreting everything. And this is visible, for instance, in St. Basil's own words, in the fact that each syllable and every phrase have a hidden meaning, kekrimenon nun. And this hidden meaning is, I guess, the ultimate objective of any theological research, of any theological exploration. So on the one hand, we have theology as a hermeneutical tool that deals with those words and tries to identify and point out what they really mean in a certain context. On the other hand, a true theological message, at least a theological message which is relevant to the church, deals with what lays beneath the surface, what lays hidden. I might say this Basilian approach to theology looks very much like, or anticipates even with more than 1,000 years, what Wittgenstein says, that the words are like the keyholes in a door, and we can eavesdrop. We can look through those keyholes beyond the door and see what lays behind it, those hidden meanings which are so important for a theology which remains relevant to the church. And now this is the second aspect which is interesting, on the other hand, is the fact that the hermeneutical tool becomes, for St. Basil, a guide along the spiritual journey. Perhaps it is quite visible the fact that this hidden truth is associated in this prologue by St. Basil with our calling, he says, our calling to become godlike, omiothine theo. This is very important. So, on the one hand, we have theology as a hermeneutical tool that deals with the words and what they mean within a theological message, a theological statement. On the other hand, we have theology as a key to decipher the true message which lays behind the door, this kekrimenon nun, this hidden meaning. And this hidden meaning is an existential meaning. In reality, we need theological exploration, or we need this exercise of theology in order to make sense of our calling, in order to become acquainted with the content, the meaning, the hardcore, if you want, of the theological message. And theology becomes, within this process, it is transformed itself, and it becomes more than a hermeneutical tool. It becomes a spiritual guide along one's personal journey toward perfection. This is very interesting, and I think it's quite visible the fact that today theologians, or those people that deal with theological research, mostly scholarly research in theology, it's a detail that they ignore. This kind of existential theology, which looks into the texts in order to get the wisdom that can assist us along the spiritual journey, this kind of theology is no longer relevant in our critical times. Perhaps this is something that we should all learn to appreciate, and this perhaps is one of the best lessons that we receive from Saint Basil the Great, and all the other fathers for that matter. The fact that a theological endeavor cannot be reduced to an intellectual venture. Theology is indeed an adventure, and I have no doubt about that. But this theological adventure engages not just our mind or some sections of our brain. This theological adventure recapitulates and represents, if you want, the catalyst of a way of life which we call the orthopraxia, because orthodoxia, the right belief or the right opinion about things, cannot suffice if it doesn't lead to a way of life, the proper way of life, in accordance to our faith. There's another aspect that I would like to point out with reference to this text, is the fact that towards the end of the text, Saint Basil uses a term, exetasis, which is rendered in our translation as research, and which actually means careful consideration, exploration. So theology is research, and this is, let's say, the scholarly side of Saint Basil's message. Theology is research. Theology is careful consideration. Theology is analytical. Theology tries to deal properly with the texts. And this is, again, an aspect which perhaps serves to remind us the fact that we cannot claim we are theologizing if we don't deal with the proper use of the terms and our information is inaccurate. I would like to end this commentary with a parallel. For instance, after centuries, St. Maximus the Confessor used a similar word, synexetasis, in the introduction of his chapters on love. The difference is quite significant, but I presume there's no contradiction and between the two fathers. Basil uses exetasis, careful consideration. This is the context. We need to pay attention to the words. We need to pay attention to the words we use in theology so that our expression actually renders the whole idea of what we mean in a theological statement. Maximus, using synexetasis, adds a new nuance to the term. It is indeed careful consideration, but this careful consideration takes place within a group. It has an ecclesial dimension, and this is something to ponder further one day.